Hello everybody, my name is Rob LaRue and I want to give my inspirational speech. But before I get started, I wanted to take just a few moments to introduce my audience. To my right, I have my lovely wife Lydia. We have Whitney as well, and our cameraman Ethan, who's going to be making sure to film it all for me. So without any further ado, I would like to get into my inspirational speech now. So tonight I want to take just a few moments to talk about Luke chapter 9 verse 20 and why it is my favorite verse, and a couple of important things about that verse to me. So first I wanted to start out by reading the verse actually. So Luke chapter 9 verse 23 in the New International Version says it like this: "And he was saying to them all, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." So tonight I want to talk about a little bit about why, how I became so infatuated with this verse, how it became my favorite verse. I also want to talk about how Luke chapter 29 or chapter 9 verse 23 changed my life, and also I would like to talk about why it is so important to me. And so first of all, I want to explain that it is my favorite speech, or my favorite scripture. And it became my favorite scripture back in 2011. I had been going through a pretty rough time in my life. As a matter of fact, I had recently gone through a divorce, and I was still really emotionally raw. And that was also a time where I started trying to come back to Christ. I started trying to put my life back together and fix my relationship with Him. And so I wasn't really sure where to go in life, what to do in life. I knew I had some things that I needed to get straight with God, but for some reason I just couldn't quite piece it together, and I would figure out why later. And so at that point I had recently been going through a difficult time, and I had recently begun a new change in life. I moved to a new city. I'd moved to Northwest Arkansas, and I'd also started a new job. I had a previous pastor who had called me up to invite me to be a praise and worship leader. And so during that time I started a new job and moved to a new city, but I also had begun to seek godly counsel in different things in my life, godly sources of encouragement. And so through the pastor friend who had been my pastor when I was a teenager, and also through some friends that I met when I was a teenager and my relationship with God was a lot stronger. And at their recommendation, I began to seek some godly resources such as Christian literature. And that's when I came across a book called Not a Fan by Kyle Idleman. And that book really makes a case to explain that John 3:16, although it is so quoted and is so important to Christians, is not as powerful as Luke 9:23. And as I read this verse and I became so acquainted with it, I began to feel the same way. I began to really understand why this verse had such power for my life personally. And so how it changed my life, it helped me begin to make the understanding in my life that really God had been more of something that I admired. I had been a fan of Jesus and not truly a follower. And it also helped me to understand that I had been living very selfishly and not really living for Christ. And going for my own desires, my own wants. And it helped to reinforce my walk with Christ as a daily commitment and a daily decision and a personal relationship, not just something I do. And so finally, Luke 9:23 is so important to me today because it has become a foundational scripture to my life. It is the scripture that God helped use to reconcile me to Him. It's the scripture that He used to help heal my heart, and it's also the scripture that He used to help restore me to Him, understanding that I had to follow after Him with a reckless abandon and a deep passion. So in conclusion tonight, I wanted just to say that Luke chapter 9 verse 23 is absolutely such a powerful scripture to me. I hope that it can be equally inspiring to each and every one of you, and thank you for your time.